Good day, everyone. We are the Group 6 and we are assigned to discuss the theories of B.F. Skinner, Bandura, Rother, and Michel. However, in this discussion, let's focus on B.F. Skinner's well known behavioral analysis theory. But before we dive to our main discussion, let me first introduce to you the reporters of this topic. The first one is Miss Carino, Mr. De Leon, yours truly, Miss Elia, and Mr. Pagsulingan. And if you want to know how interesting this theory, let's unpack behavioral analysis of B.F. Skinner. But before we proceed to the deeper level of this theory, let's now have an overview of behavioral analysis. Behavioral analysis theory is a branch of psychology that focuses on how people learn through their interaction with the environment. It is based on the idea that all behaviors are acquired through conditioning, which is a process of um, reinforcement and punishment. Like in simple terms, everything we do is basically learned through reinforcement and punishment. Like parang walang free will yung tao, kumbaga yung behaviors niya ay affect ng environment. And later on, mas mabibigyan pa ng diin yung mga subtopics and concepts ng theory na to. As a result, that would be all for this part.
And now let's proceed to the biographical sketch of Skinner. His full name is Pius Frederick Skinner. He was born on March 20, 1904 in Pennsylvania. He was the first child of William and Grace Skinner. His father was a lawyer and aspiring politician, while his mother was a stay-at-home mom. Skinner grew up in a comfortable, happy, and upper middle class home where his parents practiced the values of temperance, service, honesty, and hard work. However, nawala yung paniniwala niya sa religion nung high school siya. At noong 2.5 years old si Skinner, nagkaroon siya ng kapatid na ang name ay Edward na may nickname na Evie. So si Skinner na feel niya na mas mahal ng parents niya si Edward pero hindi naman niya na feel na kinukulang na siya sa aruga ng parents niya. Mas naging independent and less emotionally attached lang siya sa parents niya. Pero namatay rin yung kapatid niya during Skinner first year at college at dahil doon yung parents ni Skinner is gusto siyang ikulong sa bisig nila. Gusto siyang maging family boy, which nangyari ka hindi siya naging financially independent kahit pa man kilala na siya sa American psychology. Like to the point na yung parents niya pa rin nagpapaaral sa anak niya at yung parents niya rin yung bumili ng bahay nung nag-asawa na siya. Further to that, he also planned to become a professional literary writer kasi nung bata pa lang siya, mas inclined siya sa music and literature. So, 1 year siyang nag-try sa gusto niya. Like, after niyang graduate sa degree niya sa English, nagpaalam siya sa father niya na bigyan siya ng 1 year para ma-pursue ang gusto niya. So, ayun, sinuportahan siya ng tatay niya sa writing career niya. Pero sadly, wala siyang na-produce na gawa niya. And dahil doon, na-prostrate siya at yung unsuccessful writing career niya is described as dark years sa buhay ni Skinner na nagbigay ng identity confusion sa kanya. However, na-realize niya na kailangan niya magtrabaho at naging interested siya sa psychology. After niya mabasa yung works nila Pavlov and Watson, naging determined siya maging behaviorist. More of that is he married Devon Blue after ng short and erotic courtship nila at nagkaroon sila ng two daughters named Julie and Deborah. So, after niyang ma-publish yung first book niya na The Behavior of Organism, nagkaroon siya ng some stink with government research. The first one is yung Project Pigeons. Ito yung kinondisyon niya yung mga kalapate sa pagkontrol ng explosive missile. However, failed ito dahil wala lang fund si Skinner. Also, yung some observers sa invention niya is tinawanan at naging skeptical sila doon. Also, Skinner tried to enter the market with his baby Tinder invention. Ito yung equivalent ng iPad ngayon. Etong invention kasi ni Skinner is yung objective niya was mapatahimik yung bata para makapag-work yung mga parents nila. And then same sa first invention niya is nag-fail ulit kaya nagkaroon na naman siya ng dark year or crisis sa buhay niya. Therefore, he took a break kaya nung nag-summer vacation sila is nasulat niya yung libro niya na The Walden 2 which served as his catharsis and he became more productive ever since. Sa Walden 2 niya kasi na-express yung kanyang philosophy as a scientist and psychologist rather. And dito niya rin nakita kung ano ba talaga siya as a psychology major, which nagpa-realize sa kanya yun na yung leading niya is radical behaviorism. However, he died of leukemia on August 18, 1990. And siya lang yung naka-receive ng award na Outstanding Lifetime Contribution to the psychology sa history ng APA. And that would be all for the biographical sketch of Skinner.
And then sa precursors to Skinner's scientific behaviorism, ito yung mga idea na naglalaman ng gist kung ano ang theory ni Skinner. Una is that people generally do those things that have pleasurable consequences and avoid doing things that have punitive consequences. So, ang behavior daw ng tao is more reinforced kapag the reaction made them feel something positive. And they are bound to repeat this behavior in the future dahil alam nila yung pleasurable consequences. While another is that hindi nila gaanong ine-exercise ang certain reinforcement na mayroong negative consequences and it depends on the context, baka sila ay takot, tinatamad, ayaw sa stress, and so on. Then pangalawa naman, concepts of consciousness and introspection must play no role in the scientific study of human behavior, including the notions of instinct, sensation, perception, motivation, mental states, mind, and imagery. So let me explain muna nito hanggang sa dulong bullet kasi ako din napa-question dito. Nung binasa ko to sa book, parang ang babaw niya masyado kaya medyo nagdududa ako dito. So para kay Skinner, ang mga konsepto gaya ng consciousness, introspection, instincts, sensations, and so on ay hindi raw dapat binibigyan ng pansin sa pag-aral ng human behavior or psychology. Kasi on the third bullet, ang goal daw ng psychology is to predict and control behavior kaya ang goal na ito ay alone best maaaral daw sa pag-focus lang sa objective study ng stimulus to response connections. So, in agreement sila ni John B. Watson since ang mga other scientific studies daw ay nagpo-progress ng walang subjective burdens kundi objective matters lamang. And yung objective matters na ito lang talaga yung nagiging kasagutan para bigyan ng detalye ang mga paksang ito at ito yung dito umiikot yung scientific view of behaviorism. Kumbaga, external factors lang yung pinagtutuunan ng pansin but para sa mga karamihang personality theorists, psychology can best be studied sa pag-aaral mismo kasama ng mga internal factors. Kumbaga, hindi lang sa external factors alone kasi marami rin nangyayari sa loob at mga hindi nakikitang aspeto like our own subjective experiences, cognitions, ideologies, and so on. So, example dito ay sa tuwing kumakain, para kay Skinner, hindi mahalaga ang idea na kumakain ng tao dahil gutom sila. Kasi ang gutom ay inner condition na hindi directly observable, pero ang variables gaya ng deprivation of food at eating ay yung physical and external events which are clearly observable and much more dapat pagtuunan ng pansin since sakop ng siyensya iyon. So, ganoon ka-complicated ang viewpoint ni Skinner.
And for the philosophy of science in Skinner's scientific behaviorism allows for an interpretation of behavior but not an explanation of its causes. Interpretation permits a scientist to generalize from a simple leading condition to a more complex one. Any science, include that of human behavior, begins with the simple and eventually evolves generalized principles that permit an interpretation of more complex. So, ang sinasabi lang dito is ang philosophy ni Skinner sa scientific behaviorism is dapat bago tayo pumunta sa complex kinds of behaviors or concepts, kailangan muna pumunta tayo sa simple concepts ng psychology, which is ang pinaka-simple concept ng psychology na pwedeng explain, i-predict, or i-observe empirically is ang behavior. And pag na-solve na ang behavior ng isang tao, therefore, masasolve na rin yung ibang complex behavior ng isang tao. Parang sinasabi is kailangan mo nang i-follow yung step-by-step process. Mahihirapan ka alamin or tukuyin ang isang bagay kung magja-jump ka agad sa complex process. For example, kay Skinner, he generalized from animal studies to a child and then to adults. And for the characteristics of science, the first one is science is cumulative. The behaviorism has its own roots way back pa. Bali, ginamit lang ni Skinner yung mga nauna sa kanyang concept para ma-develop yon into more complex version ng behaviorism. The second one is science is an attitude that places values on empirical observations, and science is a search for order and lawful relationship. Dahil ang gustong malaman ng science kung ano ba yung relationship ng bawat isa, like ano yung relationship ng weather sa geography ng isang lugar. For example, nagkaroon ng drought. Ano yung lawful relationship nila? Kasi pag sinabing nagkaroon ng drought, dati naniniwala sila sa mga religious beliefs na galit yung Panginoon, kaya pinaparusahan tayo, kaya kailangan natin magsakripisyo. Way back kasi 'di ba ang pag-iisip ng mga sinuunang tao is lalo na nung wala pang science is paniniwala nila was purely based sa religion. Kaya yung interpretation nila sa mga disasters such as drought is parusa ng Panginoon. However, sa perspective ng science is kaya nagkaroon ng drought kasi season ng tagtuyot. In addition, if we look at the perspective of psychology, the reason why we do things is not because we just want to do things or merong unconscious drives na nagsasabi sa atin na ito ang gawin natin. However, hindi ganun kasi merong mga reasons kung bakit natin ginagawa yung mga behaviors and actions natin. And it's not because we are willing to do it, but because there is something that forces us to do it. And in this case, yung stimulus response and reinforcement. More on that, add ko lang rin na sinabi rin ni Skinner na mas maganda daw mag-deal sa facts rather than maniwala sa mga sabi-sabi lang. Ayun yung sinasabi ko kanina. At dahil doon, merong three components ang scientific attitude. One of that is rejects authority. Hindi porket well-respected person such as Einstein or President, yung pag may sinabi sila is hindi ibig sabihin nun is yung statement nila is tama na agad. Dapat mag-stand pa rin sa empirical observation. Second of that is demands intellectual honesty. Example nito is pag yung mga scientists required silang sabihin yung totoong result sa experiment nila kasi even if yung result is against dun sa hypothesis in hopes nila kasi pag hindi nila sinabi ang totoo as some of them are known na kaya mag-fabricate ng data, maliligwak sila sa position nila. As science puts a high premium on intellectual honesty. And lastly, science is suspends judgment until clear trends emerge.
And then sa terms and concepts, Edward L. Thorndike was the first psychologist to systematically study the consequences of behavior. Worked with animals first then humans, the law of effect. Meaning ng law of effect is that learning takes place mostly because of the effects that follow a response, wherein responses to stimuli that are followed immediately by a satisfier tend to be stamped in at responses to stimuli that are followed immediately by an annoyer tend to be stamped out. Ibig sabihin nito ay sa timbang kung negative or positive ang effect na nararanasan natin on a certain context na ating kinalalagyan ay mas tumatatak sa atin ito kapag nakakasatisfy siya, yet on the other hand, kapag negative ang consequences niya sa atin ay mas likely natin ito i-subside. So, rewards or satisfiers strengthens the connection between the stimulus and the response kasi we are allured by the fulfillment and gratification na natatamo sa atin ng pangyayaring iyon, kaya we are likely to be reinforced with that pattern. Pero ang punishments or annoyers, though negative siya, sometimes nakikripple niya yung connection ng stimulus and response, pero hindi nun necessarily nawawipe out ang connection. For example, sa dishwashing, stimulus ang dishes sa sink at response mo ay linisin ito. Effect niya sa atin ay nakakabagot kasi nakakatamad siya eh. Kaya you tend to avoid dishwashing because of the bad feeling it causes. Pero since isa siya sa mga kailangang gawin, ginagawa mo pa rin ito amidst the nakakainis o nakakatamad na feeling. Then about sa conditioning ni Skinner, may two types which are the classical and operant. Classical conditioning mula kay Ivan Pavlov is the response drawn out by a specific identifiable stimulus and that behavior is elicited from an organism. Operant conditioning by B.F. Skinner is a behavior which is made more likely to recur when it is reinforced. Then that behavior is emitted from an organism. Medyo nakakalito ang pinagkaiba nila pero this is an example. Sa classical conditioning, your response to a certain stimulus ay shallow lang as is. Ito yung mga involuntary response sa certain stimulus. Kunwari is, nakakita ka ng food na savory yung amoy at nakakagutom talaga. So, ang response mo dito is maglalaway ka. Napapalunok ka kasi ang sarap niya tignan. Hence, the response is reflexive and elicited lamang from an organism. However, sa operant conditioning, dito ay kasabwat na ang mga consequences ng certain response to stimuli in a way na nag-ooperate na ang organism on a particular context. Example is, nakakita ka ng food na masarap and ikaw naman ay either bibili or hindi bibili. So, ang effect kapag bumili ay may enjoy mo ito, pero ang effect kapag hindi ka bumili ay parang nakakalungkot and nasayang yung opportunity. Hence, you operate based on the effects of your response. Either ang response mo ba ay bibili for gratification or hindi ka bibili, which leads to negative feelings, while also yung mga positive effects na itinamon ng iyong responses ay nare-reinforce. Reinforcements ay likelihood na mauulit at mauulit ang response mo to stimuli dahil maganda ang epekto nito sa'yo. So, may explore pa itong topic later on. Then going back sa classical conditioning, gaya ng sinabi ko kanina, these are behaviors elicited or reflexive behaviors. May naging experiment dati kay Little Albert at isa itong 11 months old na bata at inilagay siya sa situation na may white furry rat, then tuwing hahawakan niya yung puting rat ay may malakas na sound ang tutunog at experimenters yung nagtatamo nun at hindi mismo yung rat. So, nate-terrify siya sa tunog na iyon which is nangyayari lang kapag balak niyang hawakan yung rat kaya nung inulit-ulit gawin yun ng experimenters, natakot na siya totally sa paghawak ulit sa rat. Kaya whenever nakakakita siya ng mga puting furry things similar sa itsura ng rat, natatakot siya in an expectation na baka makarinig ulit siya ng malakas na tunog. So the stimuli dito ay iyong object mismo at ang response niya is to flee away from the rat sa fear na na-impose nun sa kanya. Kumbaga, na-condition siya na i-anticipate na ang mga white furry objects with this form, even though rat lang ang initial culprit, once kapag hinawakan niya ay may malakas na sound na tutunog na nakakatakot para sa kanya. Plus, given his age pa, syempre hindi niya pa ma-distinguish yung form ng white furry rat sa ibang klase mga organisms. So, classical conditioning ay isa sa mga nag-e-explore ukol sa complex human learnings and conditionings gaya ng fear, phobias, and anxieties.
And the second subtopic is operant conditioning. Operant conditioning occurs when the organism first does something and then is reinforced by the environment. Reinforcement in turn increases the probability that the same behavior will occur again. For example, if you want to teach your dog, kailangan mo siyang bigyan ng conditioning. So, paano mo sila i-condition? Yung treats nila is siya yung magiging reinforcement. Ipapakita mo sa kanila ang treats din sa hintayin mo mag-sit. Tapos pag nag-sit na, doon mo ibigay ang treats na hawak mo. Tapos ulitin lang yun para eventually, pag nakita niya na yung treats or yung pagkain niya is, ang tendency is magsisit siya, which doon nare-reinforce ang behavior. However, para mas effective, pwede daw itong ipag-combine yung classical conditioning and operant conditioning. For example, when the dog sees the treats na hawak mo, then sabi mong sit, pero at first, hindi talaga nila magigets yung word na sit. Kaya ang gawin mo is, i-push mo gently yung lower part nila para umupo sila, then sabi mong sit. And pag umupo na, ginawa na yung behavior, then as a owner, i-reinforce mo yung behavior by giving the treats and sabi mong very good. And ulitin lang yun para in that way, ma-associate niya yung word na sit doon sa pag-upo niya. And then, pag nakaupo naman na siya, i-associate niya yun dun sa treat. By that, nare-reinforce yung sitting behavior ng aso. And that is how operant conditioning works. You give the reinforcement whenever the organism does the behavior. And if you want a person to do what you want, bigyan mo lang siya ng reinforcement para ulitin niya yung behavior. And according kay Skinner, ang operant conditioning ang nag-explain ng personality ng tao. And the second one is shaping. Ang operant conditioning, 'di ba, yung component niya is giving reinforcement. And if we do that in a successive approximation, ang tawag dun ay shaping. So for example, again, babalik tayo dun sa example natin kanina, yung dogs hiss the treat, sit and eat the treat. Ang ginagawa natin dito is sinishape natin yung behavior nila by doing the reinforcement. So, bali hanggang hindi umuupo ang aso, hindi mo siya bibigyan ng treat. Pero pag umupo na siya, kahit unting upo lang, bibigyan mo siya ng treat kasi approximation na yon. Kumbaga, na-approximate niya na nauupo siya para bigyan mo siya ng treat para maging bear good siya. Pero kahit hindi niya pa ginagawa yung behavior na gusto mo kasi half sit lang naman yung ginawa niya. So instead na pagalitan mo siya, ang gagawin mo sa susunod ay pag nag-half sit siya, encourage mo siya na ibaba niya talaga yung lower part niya para makaupo siya. And then pag nagawa niya na yung behavior na gusto mo, bigay mo yung reinforcement by giving the treats kasi by that you are shaping the behavior by reinforcing certain approximation ng behavior doon sa aso na yon. In addition, pwede rin tong gawin sa tao, particularly sa bata. For example, pag tinuturuan mo silang magbasa, kasi usually talaga sa mga bata, ang unang step para matuto silang magbasa is yung phonics or yung three-letter words. So, kunwari sa dog, ang dog, di ba, is may tatlong sounds, D, O, G, dog. Siyempre, bata siya, hindi niya talaga instantly mababasa ng buong word na dog. Kaya ang gagawin ng mga teachers or tutors is pag binasa nila yung D, sasabihan silang very good. Bibigyan sila ng reward. And by that, nare-reinforce yung bata na ituloy yung behavior niya. Tapos, ituturo ulit ng tutor yung next na sound, which is yung O, then very good again. Then, ang gagawin ng tutor is ipagko-combine nila yun hanggang matutunan ng bata kung paano basahin yung word na present sa kanya. And that is shaping. Sinishape na nagtuturo ang behavior ng bata na ulitin siya. And kung natatandaan nyo, sabi sa atin ni Ma'am Beth sa intro to psych, yung reinforcement is para siyang reward. Kasi you are rewarding the person if she or he does the behavior that you want to happen. But of course, reinforcement does not need to come for a person. Most of the time, it is in the environment itself. For example, kapag nagiging honest kang bata, binibigyan ka ng reinforcement. Or kaya naman, kapag nag-cheat ka, dahil hindi ka naman nahuhuli, tumataas grades mo. At dahil nga nag-cheat ka, nare-reinforce yung behavior ng cheating. Na-shape ka into a cheater. Ang tendency nun is gagawin mo siya ulit kasi nga may reinforcement, which is hindi ka nahuhuli. And tumataas pa yung grades mo. And note ko lang din yung shaping is most important concept siya dito sa radical behaviorism ni Skinner. And now let's proceed to the four procedures of operant conditioning. The first one is reinforcement. According to Skinner, reinforcement has two effects. It straightens the behavior and it rewards the person. But it is different from reward because some reinforcements are not necessarily rewarding. For example, yung work, hindi naman talaga siya rewarding unless pagsahod na, charing. Kasi 'di ba, you are working 9 to 5, hindi naman siya reinforcing but rather somewhat boring and uninteresting siya unless gusto mo talaga yung work na ginagawa mo. Sabi rin ni Skinner, food is not reinforcing because it tastes good. Rather, it tastes good because it is reinforcing. So basically, ang sinasabi dito, hindi naman masarap yung mga pagkain necessarily. Ang nangyari lang kasi yung food, naging masarap siya kasi na-reinforce siya. Kumbaga, nare-reinforce yung behavior, kaya naglalasang masarap. In addition, add ko lang rin na ang goal dito sa reinforcement is to see the behavior again. And under ng reinforcement, ang positive reinforcement. Positive reinforcement is any stimulus that when added to a situation increases the probability that a given behavior will occur again, which is termed as a positive reinforcer. So, ang example ng positive reinforcer is food, water, sex, money, social approval, and physical comfort. For example, if a behavior is done, bibigyan mo siya ng food para ma-reinforce yung ginawa niya. For example, ulit, in academic settings, pag nag-honor student ka, bibigyan ka ng parents mo ng approval para ma-reinforce ulit yung behavior mo, which is yung honors na maulit ulit. And another example is pag may mga quiz, yung makakakuha ng mga matataas ng scores is meron silang reward, which is then nare-reinforce ulit yung behavior in order para maulit ulit yung behavior nila. Human and animal behavior is acquired to positive reinforcement. Ayun nga lang is sa ibang humans is very tricky to sa kanila kasi nakadepende sa history ng mga tao ang mga bagay na reinforcing para sa kanila. While may mga bagay naman kasi na hindi reinforcing para sa kanila. For example, yung mga classmates natin nung elementary na bully and very talkative. Tapos pag sinaway sila, papagalitan sila ng mga teachers nila, papalabasin sila ng room. So sa perspective ng teacher, punishment yung ginawa niya para dun sa mga pasaway para hindi na ulitin ng bata yung behavior. However, sa perspective ng mga students na pasaway is reinforcing yun sa kanila. Bakit? Kasi baka sa history niya or dun sa environment niya is hindi siya pinapansin. So pag nagpapasaway siya sa school, like yung behavior niya na very talkative and bully is nabibigyan siya ng attention. And yung reinforcing dun sa scenario na yun is pagbibigay sa kanya ng attention. Kaya sa tingin niya is rewarding yun para ang tendency is gagawin niya ulit yung behavior na ginawa niya dun sa teacher or dun sa classroom. So, imbis na mawala yung behavior, pero dahil sa history niya, mas lalo lang na-reinforce. On the other hand naman, may mga taong hindi sanay sa mga compliments or sa mga physical touch like kisses kasi hindi naman ganun yung environment na kinalakihan nila. Awkward sa kanila yung mga compliments and such. So reinforcements are bit tricky for humans, although universal naman yung food and water. However, sa social approval, may mga taong hindi gusto ng social approval kasi some of them punishment ito sa kanila, while sa iba naman pag binigyan mo ng social approval, masaya sila. So minsan para makontrol natin yung ibang tao, dapat alam natin yung mga reinforcer nila or yung mga gusto nila. And the second one is negative reinforcement. Negative reinforcement is the removal of an aversive stimulus from a situation. Also, increases the probability that the preceding behavior will occur again. For example, maingay ang isang section. Ang teacher is ang gagawin niya para mawala yung ingay or mapatahimik yung mga students niya is sasabihin niya sa mga students niya na kung tatahimik kayo, wala kayong quiz. And so yung quiz, as an adversive stimulus siya, tatanggalin siya. And therefore, tatahimik na yung mga students. So, yung behavior, na-reinforce siya by removing a situation. Ganun ang negative reinforcement. Also, there are an almost unlimited number of adversive stimulus, the removal of which may be negatively reinforcing. Anxiety, for example, is usually an adversive stimulus, and any behavior that reduces it is reinforcing. So yung mga bagay na ginagawa natin to reduce anxiety, kaya gustong-gusto natin sila kasi nga nawawala yung anxiety natin. For example, exercising, ginagawa ito kasi nga nakakatulong siya para mawala ang anxiety or kaya naman ma-repress yung mga unpleasant memories or thoughts na nasa mind natin. So, ayun yung negative reinforcement na tinatawag. You're removing an adversive stimulus. And again, different siya sa punishment kasi sa punishment, we are introducing adversive stimulus. And for punishment, so kanina tinakal natin yung negative reinforcers. Ito yung remove, reduce, or avoid adversive stimuli to decrease the likelihood of the behavior. Wherein sa punishment naman, ito yung representation of an adversive stimulus such as an electric shock or the removal of positive ones such as disconnecting an adolescent's telephone. For example, for negative punishment, dahil late si CJ umuwi kagabi, hindi na siya pwedeng gumala, in short, grounded siya. Negative ito in a way dahil nga tinanggal ang gusto ni CJ, which is yung phone. Punishment naman kasi nga para hindi na maulit ang behavior na late umuwi si CJ. Also, sinasabi rin na hindi ito effective kasi even Skinner said yung punishment has little to no effect in encouraging a behavior. In fact, sabi niya, mas nadadamage lang daw yung tao. Imbis na makontrol ang behavior or ma-change, mas talo lang lalala. For example, si L. Meron siyang teacher sa math nung high school siya tapos laging nagpaparecite na merong index card. Pag tama siya, meron siyang plus 1. Pero pag mali naman, meron siyang minus 2. So, in a way, pinapunish si L sa pag sumasagot siya ng mali. So, a student, matatakot siya kaya hindi na siya magre-recite kasi bakit pa siya sasagot? Eh, may chance na nga na mapunish siya. And ang effect ng punishment na yun kay L, susurpress lang yung behavior niya. And not only that, magkakaroon pa siya ng condition of negative feelings kasi nga takot siyang magkakaroon ng punishment. I-associate niya yung punishment na yun dun sa math subject niya na kapag math subject na nila, feeling niya kasama niya pa rin yung punishment. Also, yung negative feelings na nabuo doon sa math subject is pwede yung mag-spread sa buhay niya or in short, or most likely pwede siyang magkaroon ng math phobia. And in short, super tindi ng effect ng punishment sa buhay ng isang tao. Kaya sabi ni Skinner, hindi ito effective at huwag nang gamitin. And for the types of reinforcement, the first one is condition reinforcer, or sometimes called as secondary reinforcer, are those environmental stimuli that are not by nature satisfying but become so because they are associated with such unlearned or primary reinforcers such as food, water, sex, or physical comfort. Like sa money, associated siya sa primary reinforcers. For the second one is generalized reinforcer. Is associated with more than one primary reinforcer. Skinner recognized five important generalized reinforcers that sustains much of the human behavior. One of that is attention, approval, affection, submission of others, and tokens or money. Yung mga reinforcers na general, for example, pag binigay sa'yo ang attention, most likely bibigyan ka nila ng affection or physical comfort. And the second subtopic is schedules of reinforcement. Yung reinforcement na ginagawa natin sa behavior ng isang tao or animal, pwede siya lagyan ng schedule. Kumbaga may mga ways para mas ma-shape lalo yung behavior ng tao. Like, pwede mong ibigay yung reinforcement in a set of condition. And ang first type of schedule dito is ang pinaka-obvious, ang continuous schedule. So, dito, every time na ginagawa ng tao or organism yung behavior na gusto mong gawin, bibigyan mo siya ng reward or reinforcement. And lahat ng gusto nating shaping na gawin, dapat mag-umpisa dito. However, and para mas maganda or maging matatag yung learning dun sa shaping, dapat lagyan natin siya ng intermittent schedule. Kasi may tendency na magsawa yung tao doon sa reinforcement. Baka mawala yung effect ng reinforcement. So, para hindi mawala yung effect ng reinforcement, dapat hindi mo siya lagi ibibigay. Dapat ibibigay mo lang siya kung kailan mo gusto or dapat may schedule or patterns. And second one is yung intermittent schedule nga. Yung intermittent schedule is there is a pattern on when the reinforcement is given. Under nito is yung fixed ratio. Fixed ratio is dito, ibibigay mo lang yung reinforcement every number of responses. For example, sa aso, nag-sit siya ng 2 beses. Doon mo lang ibibigay yung reinforcement. And then eventually, kahit tanggalin mo yung reinforcement, pag sinabi mo siyang mag-sit siya, magsisit talaga siya kasi alam niyang may bibigyan mo siya ng treats or reinforcement. Pero dapat bibigyan niyo pa rin ng treats na every time sinasabihin yung mga kinondisyon yung aso kasi may tendency na mas think yung behavior or makalimutin nila pag walang reinforcement na present. The second one is variable ratio. It is reinforced after the end response on the average. For example, playing slot machine. Yung reinforcement dito is yung lalabas na same character pag pinul yung lever. So nare-reinforce ka mag-full ng lever kasi alam mong may chance na lalabas yung same characters or yung reinforcement. And the second one is fixed interval. Dito naman may certain number of hours. So, pag ginawa niya ang behavior and after ilang araw or days, dun pa lang ibibigay yung reinforcement. For example, salary ng workers. And lastly is variable interval. Internal rather. And seldom lang to ginagamit kasi hindi siya practical. For example, ginawa mo yung behavior and then randomly, minsan meron kang reinforcement, minsan naman wala. So, dahil doon, kaya madalang lang siyang ginagamit kasi prone siya sa extinction kasi nga randomly lang nilalabas yung reinforcement. And if you want to shape a person or an organism, ang maganda mong gawin is lagyan mo ng continuous schedule. Then, bigyan mo ng fixed ratio. Then, eventually, bigyan mo ng variable ratio. Kasi base case Skinner, effective daw ito itong way na to. Kasi yung fixed interval, minsan hindi naman siya nag-work kasi parang ang tendency mag-work lang siya pag malapit na yung reinforcement. And that would be all for this part. Now, let's proceed to the extinction. And now, let's discuss the distinction. As mentioned kanina, ito yung mga distinct na mga learnings. Extinction is defined as the tendency of a previously acquired response to become progressively weakened upon non-reinforcement. So, kapag ang isang behavior is hindi siya na-reinforce, ang tendency is makakalimutan siya. Hindi na siya ulit gagawin. Kaya, for example, yung mga significant others nyo, pag nagpapasweet or nagpapapansin sila sa'yo tapos hindi niyo siya binigyan ng reinforcement sa pamamagitan ng pagbibigay ng attention and affection or wala kang pake sa ginawa niya, ang tendency nun is mai-stink siya. Hindi niya na ulit gagawin yung behavior na yun. In short, magiging cold siya sa inyo. And then, pwedeng eventually mag-lead kayo sa hiwalayan. Kasi nga, every time na ginagawa niya yung behavior na yun, wala siyang reinforcement na natatanggap. So, kumbaga, if you want the behavior na maulit-ulit, i-reinforce niyo siya. And add ko lang rin na extinction is seldomly systematically applied to human behavior outside therapy or behavior modification. Most of us live in a relatively unpredictable environment and almost never experience the methodical rather um, withholding of environment. Although yung mga ginagawa kong example na reinforcement sa loved ones is dapat maging maingat tayo. Kasi if gusto niyo siyang gawin kasi siyempre loved ones niyo sila, hindi natin sila pwedeng gawing pets by giving reinforcement. And that would be all for this part. Now let's have the next subtopic. Thank you.
So let's now discuss the human organism. So according to Skinner, human behavior or human personality is shaped by three forces which are indicated dyan sa PPT na nakikita niyo. First is the natural selection. Second is the cultural evolution and yung na-discuss na ni Ms. Janice kanina sa history of reinforcement. So with this, ang sabi lang dito is lahat tayo or lahat ng personality and behavior natin is, according to him, is results lang yan ng mga reinforced behavior. Ang reinforced behavior, ang ibig sabihin nun is you are increasing or strengthening the behavior. Let's give example. Bakit ka tahimik? Kasi na-reinforce or na-strengthen yung pagiging tahimik sa buhay mo. Kasi pag tahimik ka, mas peaceful ang buhay mo. Walang nakikialam sa'yo at walang umaaway sa'yo, kaya ka naging tahimik. Another example is yung iba. Bakit kaya madaldal sila or outgoing? Kasi na-reinforce sa kanila na kapag naging outgoing sila, nakukuha nila yung gusto nila or yung attention na gusto nila or pwede din sila magkaroon ng friends because of that and yung care na nakukuha nila sa pagiging friendly nila. So, ganun daw yung personality ng tao. Parang ang thought ni Skinner dito is hindi complicated na kunwari, kaya ka ganyan kasi dahil yung id at ego mo is ganito, chuchu. Disagree si Skinner dyan. Ang explanation niya lang is, na-reinforce lang yan sa kanya, kaya siya ganyan. So, that is how personality works according to Skinner. Another example is imagine you're a plant. Your growth, health, and how you behave, sa example ng plant like leaning towards sunlight and drooping when thirsty, is nagdedepend sa factors like sunlight, water, and nutrients. Similarly, Skinner thought that humans, as organisms, respond to rewards and punishment in our environment. For example, you get praised for doing well on a test. So, ang mangyayari, you might study more because you like the positive feedback na nakuha mo from that. On the other hand, kung nasigawan ka naman for being late, you might try to be on time to avoid the negative consequences na makukuha mo rin from that situation. Skinner's idea was that by understanding how rewards and punishments shape our behavior, we can learn how to encourage positive actions and discourage negative ones. So, katulad ng nakikita niyo sa PPT, natural selection is a behaviors that are reinforcing or, in other words, keeps us alive, tend to linger and be passed down. And also, according to Skinner, natural selection plays an important part in human personality. So for this one naman, sabi ni Skinner, natural selection is important part in human personality. He's a firm believer na ang lahat ng ginagawa natin is may connection ang natural selection doon, especially sa behaviorism. Kasi sa natural selection, basically ang sinasabi rito is yung behavior na nare-reinforce is sila lang yung naglilinger. Kunwari, is may genes ka na matatakotin. So, ang tendency is mapapasa siya eventually sa mga descendants and then lahat sila magiging matatakotin kasi nga napasa sila. And then yung pagiging matatakotin nung panahon na yun, yung anxiety is helpful in keeping us alive. Siyempre kapag may anxiety ka, ang tendency is hindi ka papasok sa risky na situations kasi nga, kunwari, malay mo, may mga leon pala na kakain sa'yo kapag pumasok ka sa kuweba. So, hindi ka pupunta, which means nagsisurvive ka, nananatili kang buhay. Kabaligtaran naman doon sa masyadong matatapang na sige lang ng sige is namamatay. So, hindi napapass down yung kanilang sige lang ng sige attitude. So, that is a form of reinforcement. To fit like this, imagine may alaga kang aso and yung dog na yon is binibigyan mo ng reward kapag gumawa siya ng something na gusto mo. Kunyari, umupo siya nung sinabi mo. Siyempre, bibigyan mo siya ng reward and then yung reward na yun is yung treats na binibigay mo. And ang tendency nun is ulitin ng aso yung behavior na yun, which is yung pag-upo kasi nga nakakakuha siya ng something from you. In this way, the behavior, which is yung sitting na ginawa ng dog, is selected and reinforced by the positive consequence, which is yung nakakakuha siya ng reward. Halos same lang ito sa concept ni Skinner na operant conditioning. It's about how we learn to do certain things based on what happens after natin magawa ito. So, in a simplified sense, Skinner's idea of natural selection in behavior is about how behaviors that lead to positive outcomes tend to be repeated and reinforced in a similar way, that advantageous traits are naturally selected and passed down in biological evolution. According yan sa PPT, cultural evolution refers to the process by which ideas, beliefs, customs, and behaviors are transmitted and modified within a society over time. Cultural practices that increase our chance to survive are reinforced, therefore linger, and be passed down. So, in a way, natural selection is a grand way of saying that nature is reinforcing some kinds of behavior and then eventually this behavior will form into cultures kasi ang mga tao mas mataas ang chance sila na makasurvive or mabuhay if sasama sila sa ibang group. Kasi kapag sumama ka sa ibang grupo, maraming advantages syempre. Therefore, nare-reinforce yung will or yung behavior of joining a group. And in joining a group, usually nagka-create ito syempre ng own culture and practices that increases our chance to survive or reinforce. Yung cultural practices natin like those of natural selection, kumbaga lahat ng mga cultural practices na nag-help para makasurvive tayo is maganda yung nagiging epekto nito kasi nga nare-reinforce tayo. Then nag-i-stay yung specific behavior na yan. For example, sa Philippines, if you notice, ang Philippines is, ang mga Pilipino ay very dependent sa authorities. Ayaw nating questionin, ayaw nating i-reject yung authority. That's how our Filipinos. Why? Kasi if you will look at our culture, diba nasakop tayo ng 3 bansa, lalo na yung bansang Spain. Yung namuno sa atin na Spaniards are the worst kinds of Spaniards. Kaya, pinatapon sila sa Pilipinas. So, kapag kinustyon mo sila, ang tendency, papatayin ka nila. So, anong gagawin ng mga Pilipino? Yung mga very respectful and sobrang dependent sa authority, sila yung nare-reinforce. Kasi, sila yung nagsisurvive. And then, yung mga lumalaban sa authority, sila yung mga hindi nare-reinforce yung behavior kasi pwedeng mamamatay na sila agad. So, in the end, hindi nako-question or na-reinforce yung behavior nila na lumalaban sa authorities. So, ang tendency, yung mga nagsisurvive or yung mga cultural practices na nag-survive is yung mga nagre-respect sa mga authorities. So, yan yung magiging culture ng isang lugar. Ayan, sa baba, the remnants of culture like those of natural selection are not all adaptive. For example, the division of labor that evolved from the Industrial Revolution has helped society produce more goods, but it has led to work that is no longer directly reinforcing. So, ito naman, Um, kasi nga nag-e-evolve tayo in a sense na gusto natin yung craft natin. Kumbaga, gusto natin may ginagawa tayo. And then, ang example nito is we create shoes. Kapag nakita natin yung end product natin na yon, that is reinforcing itself. Pero dahil sa panahon ngayon, wala ng craftsman, ang meron is yung tinatawag natin na division of labor, wherein may gagawa ng shoelace, may gagawa ng sintas, may gagawa ng sole, may mag-assemble and so on and so forth. So, iba-ibang tao na yung gumagawa nun. Hindi na natin nakakita yung reinforcement ng finished product na ginagawa natin with blood and tears. Therefore, hindi siya reinforcement. So, that is a way of saying a culture is hindi siya makakasabay sa current evolution natin sa buhay, but it was still there because it was reinforced a long time ago sa mga buhay-buhay natin. So, that is how culture affects our personality. Punta naman tayo sa inner states. Diyan sa first bullet, although Skinner rejected explanations of behavior founded on non-observable hypothetical constructs, Skinner did not deny the existence of internal states such as feelings of love, anxiety, or fear. First inner states is drives. This drive simply refers to the effects of deprivation and satiation and to the corresponding probability that the organism will respond. So, basically, ang sinasabi lang dito ni Skinner is lahat ng inner states such as self-awareness, drives, emotions, purpose, and intentions are not really that. They're just behaviors na na-reinforce. For example, yung drives natin. Bakit tayo may drives? Because may natural drives tayo. We want to eat, we want to have sex, we want to be more aggressive to other people. Ang sabi ni Skinner dyan ay hindi, na-reinforce lang yan. May drives kasi tayo na na-deprive tayo. So, dahil na-deprive tayo, syempre gusto natin ma-fulfill yung deprivation na yun. And that is reinforcing. Kumbaga, may hunger drives ba tayo? Hindi, wala tayong ganun. Naubusan lang tayo ng nutrients sa katawan and nagkataon na ang behavior na nag-survive, na-select, and na-reinforce para mawala yung hunger na yun is yung eating. So, therefore, meron tayong eating instinct. Meron tayong hunger drive because yun ang na-reinforce. So, self-awareness. This can still be observed only by the person experiencing it. Dito naman, just wait. Sa self-awareness, Skinner believed that humans not only have consciousness but are also aware of their consciousness. They are not only aware of their environment but are also aware of themselves as part of their environment. They not only observe external stimuli but are also aware of themselves observing that is stimuli. We can think of self-awareness as being aware of our own behaviors and how they affect our environment. For example, if you realize that studying hard leads to good grades, you're showing a form of self-awareness about your actions and their outcomes. Skinner's ideas often revolved around how external factors shapes our behavior. So, yung self-awareness sa framework niya might involve recognizing the consequences of our actions and adjusting our behaviors based on those consequences. Next is emotion. Bakit tayo may emotions? Ang mga emotions kasi natin, it's either isa yung aversive stimuli o yung mga bagay na hindi natin gusto. For example, is anxiety na gusto natin tagalin. Kabaligtaran naman is yung it could be a good stimuli like happiness. If you want to feel happy, gagawin mo yung mga behaviors na makakapagpasaya sa'yo or magbibigay ng happiness sa'yo. So, therefore, nagsasurvive ka dahil doon. Example is happy ang tribo nyo. Ang tendency is mataas ang capability nyo to hunt. O kaya naman yung nakalagay dyan sa PPT, which is anxiety is prime example of emotion that is described as aversive stimuli that help us survive the wilderness. Kasi kapag mataas ang anxiety mo, mataas yung chance na hindi ka mamatay dahil hinahunt ka ng mga predators. So, reinforcement lang yung mga yan. For example, if someone smiles because they received a compliment, Skinner would see this as a behavior that was reinforced by the positive feedback, which is yung compliment, making the person more likely to smile again in the similar situations. Same with the purpose and intention. Wala daw tayong purpose and intention. So, itong purpose and intention na ito, they can increase or reinforce the probability of doing a behavior. Let's explain first yung behavior. Yung purpose muna, isa-isang word muna tayo. Skinner aimed to study and explain kung paano nagbe-behave ang mga tao based on the consequences of their actions. He wanted to show that behavior is influenced by external factors that can be understood through scientific observation and experimentation. Intentions naman, however, as intended to develop theories and methods like operant conditioning that could be used to predict, control, and modify behavior. Naniniwala si Skinner dito na by understanding how rewards and punishment affects behavior, we could create environments that encourage positive behaviors and discourage the negative ones. In simpler terms, Skinner's purpose was to explain behavior scientifically while his intentions were to develop practical methods for shaping and guiding behavior in ways that benefit individuals and society. So, ang sinasabi lang ni Skinner dito is everything we do is basically learned through reinforcement. For the explanation of complex behavior, I am giving the virtual stage to Miss Aya to further discuss the topic.
As for the complex behavior, Skinner believed that even the most abstract and complex person is shaped by natural selection, cultural evolution, or the individual's history of reinforcement. Now, let us talk about first about the natural selection. So, ito yung mga behavior na nare-reinforce and sila lang yung nag-linger because yung mga behavior na reinforcing, in other words, keeping us alive, like eating, running away from predators, and those are reinforced. At bakit sila nagre-reinforce? Kasi you feel good about escaping or eating, and then that behavior will pass down. Why? Kasi may genes ka ng matatakotin. So, ang tendency, mapapasa yun sa susunod pa na henerasyon. And then, na lahat sila magiging matatakotin like you. The second one is the cultural evolution. So, behaviors and customs are passed down every generation. Na kung saan ito ang siyang humuhubog sa mga standards or pamantayan ng lipunan. Like for example, greetings, table manners, or even fashion trends. And these learned behaviors evolve over time within a culture. The third one is the individual's history of reinforcement. Our actions are influenced by past experience, yes. And according to Skinner, behaviors that were rewarded in the past or positive reinforcement are more likely to be repeated, while those that led to punishment or negative reinforcement are less likely. So imagine a child who gets praised for drawing, so they're more likely to draw again. That is why kaya ka tahimik kasi nare-reinforce yung pagiging tahimik mo, which gives you peace. Or yung iba naman kaya sila madaldal or outgoing kasi nare-reinforce sa kanila na kapag outgoing sila, nakukuha nila yung gusto nila like care and attention. And base case Skinner, nakukuha natin ito using reinforcement. Next is the higher mental process or naka-highlight dyan is problem solving. So, involves covert behavior and often requires the person to covertly manipulate the relevant variables until the correct solution is found. So, as per the higher mental process, a covert behavior relevant to the environment. So, para makuha natin yung correct answer, kasi kapag nakuha natin yung correct answer, that is a reinforcement. So, technically, yung mga tao na nagpa-problem solving, um, Kapag na-solve nila yung problem, nare-reinforce sila na mag-problem solving ulit. Kasi kapag na-solve nila yung problem, nakakatulong yun sa buhay nila. The next one is the creativity. So, kay Skinner, um, yung creativity, it is a result of a random or accidental behavior. So, kumbaga, hindi ka creative. It is just that nagkataon lang yung idea mo is nag-work. And the third one is the unconscious behavior. It talks about denial experiences and something rewarding like dininay mo yung anxiety mo. And the reality, like for example, you have a crush on someone and feeling mo, crush ka din niya since masarap yun sa feeling. Even though hindi naman yung totoo, but since masarap sa feeling, kaya patuloy mo pa rin yung ginagawa kahit di naman totoo. That is why, dinideny mo unconsciously yung mga unpleasant event na nangyayari sa buhay mo and it is toxic. As for the fourth one, which is dreams, according to B.F. Skinner, dreaming is not a biological process or a latent desire or memory. Instead, naniniwala siya that dreams were seeing things in the absence of visible things. And the fifth one is the social behavior. He explained that mas nagiging social tayo kasi may reinforcing na nangyayari. As what I've mentioned earlier, na nare-reinforce yung behavior kapag ang isang tao ay nakikipag-socialize. And based on Skinner, most likely na makakapag-survive ka if you are social. Control of human behavior. An individual's behavior is controlled by environmental contingencies, and those contingencies may have been erected by society, by another individual, or by oneself. But the environment, not free will, is responsible for behavior. So technically, ang gusto lang sabihin ni control of human behavior is it is being controlled by social forces and techniques. So now let's move on to social control. So, social control is the individual's act to form social groups because such behavior tends to be reinforcing instead. So, in the social control, we are controlled by threats and promises of society. Example, kapag di mo ako sinunod, makukulong ka. Kapag di mo sinunod tong rules, masisira yung buhay mo. Or kapag di mo binili tong product na to, papangit ka. So, technically, we are controlled since reinforcement yun na negative and positive. Next is self-control. The contingencies of self-control, however, do not reside within the individual and cannot be freely chosen. When people control their own behavior, they do so by manipulating the same variables that they would use in controlling someone else's behavior. And ultimately, these variables lie outside themselves. So, technically, we can control ourselves by controlling our environment. Like, for example, to avoid being distracted, you remove your phone when reviewing so that para makapag-focus ka. Next is bring exact money to avoid impulsive buying. Or uninstall Shopee and Lazada to avoid the urge and nudges of these picky notifications like Shopee. And the fourth one is like the vouchers. Vouchers serves as the reinforcement. And sabi nga, mababa raw ang self-control kapag nakahiga na. So, iwasan natin mag-phone kapag ka nakahiga kasi baka tuloy-tuloy yung pag-add to cart natin and magawa natin sa impulsive buying. But there are times na yung mga social control ay nagiging excessive na. Like kapag kinokontrol tayo ng pera, society, school, or teacher natin, and we tend to break down or wants to counteract. And kapag sumobra yung counteract na yun, doon nagkakaroon ng unhealthy personality. The unhealthy personalities or counteracting behaviors or strategies is when social control is excessive, people can use these three basic strategies. So the first one is escape. People withdraw from the controlling agent, either physically or psychologically. People who counteract by escape find it difficult to become involved in intimate personal relationships and tend to be mistrustful. So, it is same with moving away people ni Hernay. Parang hindi ka na lang makikipag-relationship sa tao kasi hassle sila. The second one is revolt. So, It controls behave more actively, counterattacking the controlling agent. People can rebel through vandalizing public property, tormenting teachers verbally, abusing other people, or overthrowing established organizations such as religions or governments. Ang example dito ay yung iba daw, kaya daw sila nag-move against is nag-rebel sila kasi ayaw nilang makontrol nung time na adolescents pa. And usually, ganyan ang ginagawa natin. Like, may pace tayo sa buhay natin na nagiging rebelde sa magulang kasi ayaw natin yung nakokontrol tayo sa ginagawa natin. Like, for example, sasabihin ni parents na, huwag gawin yan. Tapos, ikaw naman, as a kid, na parang walang alam, anong sasabihin mo, like, anong bawal-bawal? Ayaw mo lang gawin to kasi naiingit ka sa akin. But as time goes by, and in the long run, marirealize mo na sa pagtanda mo, mapapasabi ka na lang na, ay, tama naman pala sila. Tama naman pala yung magulang ko sa mga sinasabi nila. And the third one is the passive resistance. People who counteract control through passive resistance are more subtle than those who rebel and more irritating to the controllers than those who rely on escape. Sabi nila si passive resistance is the most annoying one. And the example is being passive-aggressive about situation like imbes na imbes na mag-work ka, di ka na lang mag-work. Kasi kaysa awayin ka nila or takasan sila, hindi ka na lang magtatrabaho. Or kung ganun yung mindset mo, napakaliin. And the second example is a child with work to do finds a dozen excuses why it cannot be finished. Usually, may mga students na ganyan, na parang meron naman silang means to do their homework para matapos yun, mapasa on time. But it's just that lagi silang may excuses na, ay, hindi ko magagawa kasi ganito, ganyan, and so on and so forth. At kapag sumobra ang mga yan, these counteracting behaviors, nagkakaroon ng inappropriate behaviors or self-defeating techniques of counteracting social control or from unsuccessful attempts of self-control, especially when either of these failures is accompanied by strong emotion. Now let us move on to inappropriate behaviors. So, inappropriate behaviors, the first one is the vigorous behavior or OA, which makes no sense in terms of the contemporary situation, but might be reasonable in terms of past history, and excessive restraint behavior, which people use as a means of avoiding the aversive stimuli associated with punishment. So, magiging OA ka sa lahat na ginagawa mo, like galit ka lagi, aggressive ka lagi, or feel mo, ikaw yung tama lagi. And that explains the vigorous behavior, which is OA. Next one is the blocking out reality to block aversive stimuli. Ito na yung pagiging denial mo. Other people, binablock nila yung reality kasi ayaw nila yung aversive stimuli because it is not rewarding kaya nagiging denial sila. The third one is the defective self-knowledge. It is delusions. Self-deluding responses as boasting, rationalizing, or claiming to be the Messiah. This pattern of behavior is negatively reinforcing because the person avoids aversive stimulation associated with thoughts of inadequacy. Iba naman, nare-reinforce sila like, I'm a good person, I'm the savior, and I'm the Messiah. Nagkakaroon ng delusions kasi di na nila makontrol yung social forces. The last one is the self-punishment, which is the depression. Ito yung in a way na iniisip nila na boba sila, walang kwenta, hindi sila deserving na mabuhay, kaya nadadepress sila. Kasi feeling nila, kinokontrol sila ng tao, kinokontrol sila ng environment.
Let's proceed to the psychotherapy of B.F. Skinner. Si B.F. Skinner ay kilalang Amerikano psychologist na pinakikilala sa mga gawain itong sa mga kondisyon ng operant. Isa sa anyo ng sukuluyang pag-uugali habang ang Skinner ay hindi direktang bumubuo ng isang tiyak na anyo ng psychotherapy. Ang kanyang mga teorya at prinsipyo ng operant condition ay may malaking impluwensya sa iba't ibang mga diskarte ng psychotherapy. Isa na dito ang behavioral modification therapy. Ang prinsipyo ni Skinner ng operant condition na kinabibilangan ng paggamit ng reinforcement at parusa upang hubugin ng pag-uugali ay may malawakang inilalapat sa mga therapy sa pagbuo ng asal. Nakatuon ng mga therapies na ito sa pagbuo ng maladaptive na pag-uugali sa pamamagitan ng pagtibay ng ninanais na pag-uugali at pag-aalis ng mga hindi ka nais-nais. Second one is cognitive behavioral therapy o CBT. Ang CBT na pinagsama ang cognitive at behavioral approach ay na-impluwensya ng trabaho ni Skinner. CBT therapies ay madalas na gumagamit ng mga diskarte tulad ng positibong pagpapalakas, paghuhubog at pagkalipol upang matulungan ang kliyente sa nabaguhin ng kanilang mga iniisip at pakiramdam at pag-uugali. Token economy, ang konsepto ng Skinner ng isang token economy kung saan ang mga individual ay kumikita ng token para sa pagpapakita ng ninanais na pag-uugali. Ginagamit sa iba't ibang clinical setting tulad ng psychiatric na hospital at mga pasilidad sa paggagamot sa tirahan upang isulong ang mga positibong pagbabago sa pag-uugali. Exposure therapy. Ang mga prinsipyo ni Skinner ng operant condition ay inilapat sa exposure therapy na karaniwang ginagamit upang gamutin ang mga anxiety disorder sa diskarte. Ito, unti-unting nalalantad ang mga kliyente sa pinagmulan ng kanilang takot o pagkabalisa na may layuning bawasan ang nag-uugnay na negatibong emosyonal na mga tugon sa pamamagitan ng prosesong ng dissertation. Contingency management. Ang mga idea ni Skinner tungkol sa pagpapatibay at pagpaparusa ay ginagamit sa mga interbasyon sa pamamahala ng contingency na kinabibilangan ng pagbibigay ng mga nasasalat na gantimpala o kahitatnan upang hikayatin o pigilan ang partikular na pag-uugali, lalo na sa konteksto ng paggagamot sa pang-aabuso sa idea tungkol sa panlipunan, kontrol at paninimpula. Okay, let's proceed to concept of humanity of B.F. Skinner. Concept of humanity ni B.F. Skinner ay labis na naimpluwensya ng kanyang pananaw sa pag-uugali. Narito ang pangunahing pananaw ng mga elemento ng Skinner sa kalikasan ng sangkatauhan. Environmentalism. Naniniwala si Skinner na ang pag-uugali ng tao ay pangunahing hinuhubog ng mga salik na kapaligiran. Sa halip ng likas o nagbibigay malay ng mga salik, nakikita niya ang tao bilang ang produkto ng kanilang kapaligiran at pag-aaral ng kasaysayan. Next one is determinist. Si Skinner ay isang deterministang ibig sabihin ay naniniwala siya na ang pag-uugali ng tao ay higit na tinutukoy ng mga panlabas na puwersa at ang mga individual ay may kakaunting malay, kalooban o autonomiya. Tinatanggihan niya ang paniniwala ng autonomiya o self-directed human agent. Pangatlo is rejection of mentalist. Si Skinner ay kritikal sa pagtutok sa mga panloob na estado ng pag-iisip tulad ng mga pag-iisip, pakiramdam o intensyon sa tradisyon ng psikolohiya. Naniniwala siya na hindi ito kinakailangan upang ipaliwanag at maulaan ng pag-uugali. Another one is operant condition. Ang pinakatanyag na kontribusyon ni Skinner ang kanyang teorya ng operant condition na nagpapaliwanag kung paano nahuhubog ang pag-uugali sa pamamagitan ng paggamit ng reinforcement at parusa. Nakikita niya ito bilang pangunahing mekanismo para sa pagbabago ng ugali. The next one is social engineering. Naniniwala si Skinner na sa pamamagitan ng pag-unawa sa prinsipyo ng operant condition society ay maaaring ma-engineer upang isulong ang mga kanais-nais na pag-uugali at pigilan namang hindi kanais-nais. Ito ay umahantong sa ilang controversial na idea tungkol sa panlipunan, kontrol sa pagmamanipula. The next one is utilitarianism. Ang pananaw ni Skinner sa sangkatauhan ay naimpluwensya ng isang utilitarian ethical framework kung saan ang layunin ay maximize ang pangkalatang kagalingan ng lipunan sa pamamagitan ng pagmamanipula ng pag-uugali. That's all for report of Group 6. Thank you.